It's FarmBy28 here, and I'm back with another video, this time discussing the recent suspect that's going on in the Balance Hackmons metagame. Recently, the E4 Flint has decided to suspect the ability in Illusion, and I'm here with my friend Aki0s. Say hi.
How y'all doing?
And we're here to kind of to discuss Illusion as an ability. The suspect has been going on for 2 weeks now, and now the voting is currently underway. So we wanted to leave our thoughts and what we think. So if you want to start off, Aki0s, and take the reign.
Alright, sure. So, like, obviously there's two sides to it. 3 sides if you want to count the guys that aren't voting, which I think is includes me and Funbot. But there's the pro banners and the pro anti-banners. I think that about explains it, but pro ban, there's a lot of arguments in favor. Pro not ban, it's a bit scarce that side, and I think people tend to like underplay the not banning arguments. But I think there's merit to both, and I think you're about the same as me.
Pretty much. A lot of people kind of, well, like if we want to start off with the general, what people are saying on either side, a lot of people on the pro ban side are kind of saying how Illusion kind of skews matchups in a sense where you have like powerful wall breakers like Primal Groudon, Mega Mewtwo X that use the ability to kind of lure in their checks. So let's say, for example, you have a Mega Mewtwo X illusioned, or like, I don't know how you phrase it, that's being illusioned by, I don't know how to say it, but like let's say an Aegislash, and let's say Megalodino decides to come in on the Aegislash, right, as it would normally not be threatened by it, but then it gets hit by a Choice Band, Photon Geyser, or Close Combat and gets through it KO'd. So in that sense where the player it's kind of hard to play around an Illusion in a sense, because how can one predict against an ability that basically masks the mon in front of you, and it's really hard to tell what mon is illusioned without factoring in stuff like Stealth Rock, that entry hazard damage, or like immunities and resistances and stuff like that. But usually once those factors are brought into play, it's kind of already too late. That's what the pro ban side is saying.
Yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it. Some other things they mentioned were that obviously it messes up Showdown sort of like preview. So the team structure gets messed up and you sort of forget certain things are still alive when because it shows that they're dead. So you don't really think when it goes pretty much into the battle. You focus on the battles, so you forget those sorts of things. And I mean, when you use 2 mons that are pretty similar, so let's say you use Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y, like their moves can be pretty interchangeable and they do have different checks. So like it's hard to predict what's what. So like if a Mega Mewtwo Y uses V-Create, you wouldn't automatically assume it's a Mega Mewtwo X in disguise, because some Mega Mewtwo do run that. That was also one of the arguments being brought up.
That's another good point too, as well. Because like you said, like given how certain moves are quite popular on a lot of offensive threats, you could think of stuff like U-Turn, Moongeist Beam, even coverage like I don't know, Earth Power for special attackers. Like it's kind of just
interchangeable pretty much.
It's pretty interchangeable, yeah, and it's not like in regular play where Illusion you only have Zoroark, right, where you know it has its moveset and you could kind of tell already if let's say a Charizard is using Dark Pulse, then you kind of know it's a Zoroark. But in a sense, since Balance Hackmons is so diverse, where anyone could run any move ability, or almost any abilities and moves, it's kind of Illusion kind of gets enhanced in that sense where you can't really rely on that argument of like, oh, just look at the mon's moveset and then you can make the predictions from there, because yet again, like you mentioned, a lot of offensive wall breakers kind of, not all the time, but generally have certain coverage moves that kind of see its popularity in a lot of their offensive sets, so it's kind of hard to kind of gauge from there as well.
So yeah, it does get a bit tough to sort of like tell them apart, and I think one of the other things that were mentioned was that because of the way Showdown works with the moves, like certain moves get revealed. So when they go to the mon that isn't actually illusion, but it was illusion previously, it'll show that it has like, assuming they've revealed some moves, it'll show that it has like 6 or 7 moves. And once again, you wouldn't know which move like belong to which, assuming they're like literally imposter proofed it in such a way. Like, I mean, you run into Like, I mean, Mega Mewtwo X could run Frozen Geyser, V-Create, Moongeist. I mean, you wouldn't run Moongeist Beam, but theoretically it could. And Mega Mewtwo Y could run a similar, you know, so you wouldn't know what's what.
And usually...
But I mean, that ties into what... So...
And usually that's the case, right? Where you'd usually pair an Illusionmon with some another offensive threat that like shares similar checks, so like it kind of lure, because like Illusion is basically the best lure ability in the game, besides stuff like maybe Tinted Lens and stuff like that. But really, like a great core, like you mentioned, where the both Mega Mewtwo's is like a great example of that, where you know, I could give another example where, like, let's say even sometimes where the Mega Mewtwo X is illusioned as Mega Mewtwo Y, and then stuff like Solgaleo or Registeel come in on the Mega Mewtwo Y, or theoretically the Mega Mewtwo Y, and then just get hit by close combat and die. So it's like,
yeah, that's pretty big, you know?
You know, just
like,
to
give use the Mega Mewtwo Y answer, and that's that.
And a lot of people kind of say, well, like all the whole showdown thing and the showdown's image, that's apart from the whole argument in general, because that's a problem with the site. But since we are using showdown as our main source of battling and stuff, I think you need to factor that in. Even though they tried, I think they fixed a bit with the moves, where like when you highlight over the mon, like it says, oh, it's a possibility that it's an illusioned mon, whatever. It's still like, it's really hard to tell, and especially with the whole imaging thing where it like covers one of the mons, and you can't even tell if that mon is dead or not because it's being covered by the illusion mon. Especially in the case with Kangaskhan when it mega evolves, and that's a whole nother story where we have
that's a whole nother debate. The same approach are out on, really.
Yeah,
but that at least so the system really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the pro ban, I think. And then like you get the pro not ban. So they don't want it banned, and some of the arguments in favor of that are like, I've advanced a few myself, not that they've been given much credit, but it's fine. I say it's sort of like running, like Illusion really only preys on the higher players, like higher tier players that are going to make the safe play no matter what. Like if you try to run Illusion on low to mid ladder, most of the time it's not going to go down how you want it to go down, because you like let's use the Mega Mewtwo X, Mega Mewtwo Y example again. You want them to go Registeel on the Mega Mewtwo Y, but some players will go like, I don't know, Zygarde, you know?
Yeah, or stay in, or like whatever. No, it's definitely an ability that kind of harps on like people actually doing the double switches and stuff like that, because that's what you kind of use Illusion for. That's it. So like in a sense where it's an ability that has a lot of potential, but that potential needs to be abused. Like in a sense, like it's not always. It depends on the other player as well. It depends on the other player as well. In a sense, I guess that's what you're trying to say. Like they need to be the ones making the double switch-ins to lure in the threats that you are trying to lure in for your other offensive threats, if that makes sense. But
it's pretty much the same. Like if you look at it compared to, like, I like to compare it to a coverage move. Like if you're running, let's say, Pixelite Diancie with V-Create or Precipice Blades, if they've improved it well enough, you wouldn't really know what it's running without enough prior knowledge. Like you would assume most of the time great, but I mean, if it's Precipice Blades, your Registeel is going to get rocked back.
Exactly.
And that's the same with Illusion. But Illusion has sort of like the down benefit that it's not going to be as useful if they're not playing according to how they're supposed to be playing.
Because I think
like boosted moves and stuff like that, but with Illusion you just have your item really. So it's,
because I think it's a good example you make with the coverage move, especially because if you're running a coverage move, you're just forfeiting one move slot. But in a sense where with Illusion, you're forfeiting an ability slot, which is much more important, especially in balanced Hackmons, where you could be running better stuff. Let's say for Mega Mewtwo X, it would rather much be running stuff like Tinted Lens or Adaptability, so it could break down its checks much easier. Yet, you know, it's forced to run Illusion, which kind of hinders its offensive capabilities, quote unquote. Compared to let's say a Mega Diancie running either Precipice Blades or V-Create to break through its checks. So like in a sense you're giving up more, but the payoff may not even work in certain cases, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like high risk, high reward, which is why like I see what everyone's saying about the pro ban side, and I see what everyone's saying about the no ban side, but you gotta like look at it like that. It's literally high risk, high reward. In tournament settings, you're probably getting good mileage out of it, but the average player on ladder is probably much better off just sacrificing a coverage move on something to catch something out. You know?
And even that, like a lot of people say, it's difficult to scout for, but for the majority of the cases, you generally see like common mons running illusion. Like I mentioned, there's Mega Mewtwo X, there's Primal Groudon, certain Mega Mewtwo Y, you know, Mega Kangaskhan. Like once you see these mons in team preview, I think you should play with illusion in mind already, even though it is difficult. I'm not undermining how hard it could be to play around illusion at times, of course, but if you see these mons in team preview, like just having that in the back of your mind where like the mon in front of you, especially let's say you have an Aegislash out and your opponent brings in Mega Mewtwo Y on a switch in, like you could kind of already have that assumption made that, oh, maybe it's an illusion Mega Mewtwo X, you know what I mean? So it's just, you have to look at the plays that your opponent are making and see if they make sense, and if they don't, maybe consider that the mon is like under illusion, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And the fact that you say like there's usually common mons that run illusion, like you see a Primal Groudon, you see a Kangaskhan, like I mean, with Kangaskhan, you can almost 100% see.
Yeah, it's a given. Yeah, but even
so, like you could definitely play around knowing that, but it does require once again the player to have some knowledge. Yeah. So I assume like if you don't have the knowledge, it is very like new player unfriendly. But then again, like illusion is only really gonna see like huge advantages in the tournament setting, and your new player isn't gonna reach the point in a tournament where it's really going to matter for him whether or not illusion is there or not, you know?
Exactly. So
I see it. But like, there's good arguments on both sides. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I didn't try and do Rex, because it's so like fine, like the distinction between the two, that it's, I don't know. I think you're pretty much the same.
I'm on the same boat. I'm kind of torn as well. If I would have gotten Rex, I think I would have just voted ban, just because I'm quite annoyed with the whole Pokemon Showdown, how it screws up the images thing. That's the part that really bothers me with illusion. But looking at it at a competitive aspect, like you said, there's that whole high risk, high reward. So while you could definitely get even 2 to 3 kills with illusion as you lure in your opponent's threats, if you be mindful of, let's say, like entry hazard chip. If you play smart with illusion, you could definitely get the payoff, but it requires a lot of smart play. So I find it could actually bring some competitive aspect into, you know, balance Hackmons play in that sense, because, you know, the person using illusion has to play smart, right? They can't just throw out or let's say they have
definitely,
you know, be mindful of stuff that could kind of unmask the illusion mon. So just with that aspect, I think it encourages in competitive play, yet it is quite annoying
I
at
also
times.
like that. Yeah, like, and going on that a bit more, most of the players have actually sort of like said one of the broken parts about illusion is that it doesn't really reveal itself. You know, that's the key part about it that sort of, you know, messes with players. And it's similar in the fact to, like, if you want to compare illusion to some other ability, look at dazzling. Dazzling is a lot similar. Like, if you're going to rely on like priority to take out something or revenge kill something, dazzling doesn't reveal itself. Your opponent could keep it in like the back, and if you play it smart enough, you never even know it's there.
Exactly.
So it does add like an extra dimension, like you said, and it does add an extra dimension to competitiveness. But I think what people are like also thinking is like it's getting too much in a sense. Like, you need to sort of like worry, is this either illusion, is this dazzling? Like, if I click fake out here, is it going to be dazzling and style smash against me, or is it actually going to be illusion? I'm going to get what it is. So people were probably just saying like it's probably a bit too much in the meta game, you know, how do you prepare for all this sort of stuff?
Exactly.
So I can see that aspect.
Yeah, that's...
But I can see the aspect of too. I'm very pro keeping it in the sense that it's for competitive, and I mean, let's be honest, we're playing ones for the competitive side,
exactly.
Not for
yeah.
the fun of it. So,
if we're looking at stuff to ban, yeah, like you said, if it is the argument where it's too much stuff to handle, maybe we have to look at the other things that are causing these constraints on team building. Let's say, like you mentioned, dazzling, or there's other like wall breakers in general, like Mega Mewtwo X, that are quite potent at the current moment. You know, that constraint can be maybe can be solely, let's say, the blame on Illusion, but other stuff in general. So, but like you said, while it's annoying, I definitely appreciate the competitive, like the extra dimension, like you said, that it gives to certain high level balanced Hackmons game. And even if we're talking about a high level balanced Hackmon game, while Illusion was abused like near the beginning of the OMPL, the other Metagames Premier League, as of late, like near the later rounds, it wasn't really used as much and hasn't had much of a higher success rate. So people complaining how it's ruining. Exactly. So people complaining how it's ruining competitive games. Just look at the tournaments, and the results will tell you otherwise. So.
Yeah, like I like to use Mamp as an example, because Mamp usually brings pretty like crazy
He was on
stuff.
one of my other videos. Shout out to Mamp. Anyways,
yeah, like, I mean, look at what he brought recently versus Will, like a Triage Mega Charizard.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
Pixelate UI. Like, I mean, that's not the sort of stuff you prepare for. So if you match up against that, how do you stop it? You haven't prepared for it. It's not a meta threat.
Yeah, because the argument could be made for anything. Yeah.
Pretty much, like that's the issue I have with the Illusion argument. It's like you can't prepare for everything. You're never gonna know what's gonna hit you, and like the fact that it's Illusion helps it a bit, I guess. But people could run anything on anything.
You know what I mean?
You never really know.
I see people using like Pixelate Shedinja at this current moment, you know what I mean? Like, it really, like, that, especially with balanced Hackmons, you could never expect a team to properly prepare for everything, and that's why we have stuff like Imposter, which kind of helps with that. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to scout the best to your abilities, and, you know, even though it can be hard with Illusion, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I definitely feel how, like, you know what I mean? Like, it can be played around, you know?
Yeah, it can, definitely. But, I mean, the fact that the Illusion Imposter doesn't work against it probably does add to its broken aspect.
Yeah,
but
okay, yeah, I forgot to mention that, yeah. That's a good
yeah. I mean, like, if you look at most Illusion players, like, I'm obviously just spitballing from experience here. Most of the time they start Illusion, or they bring Illusion very early on in the game.
Yeah.
Because the longer the game goes on, the less useful Illusion is.
Or the risk of, like, your opponent setting up entry hazards or stuff like that that can, like, skew it, you know?
And then it becomes useless anyway, because your opponent can predict what it is.
Yeah. And so that's another, like, with the risk with, like, once the Illusion is broken, like, you're basically, you lost the Mon's ability for the rest of the game once it's been scouted, you know what I mean? Like, that the risk involved with it is...
Pokemon holding a choice item without a boosting item, like, that's pretty bad, you know?
Like, the ability slot is so important nowadays, you know? So it's definitely something you have to be mindful when using Illusion, so yeah. Pretty much. That covers my thoughts.
I don't know, look, there's good arguments on both sides, and I personally think it's probably just going to go the ban side, but I feel like we could have been looking at other things. Like, I mean, Shedinja, let's take a look at that. Yes, the Shedinja OP, call me a noob, but if you look at it, if you look at it with the full EV meta, like, the only thing that stands up to Shedinja these days is Mold Breaker, Giratina, especially they're running Spectral.
Honestly,
so, like,
yeah, even
dealing with that hectic.
Honestly, at this point, I would consider Shedinja more of a pain than Illusion, as you said, in the full EV meta, where, like, it's honestly the only mon that could kind of just one hit KO things at this point, due to how bulky everything is now. Like you said, when I team build, I prep for Shedinja, like, first, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even think of Illusion. It's like the back end of my thoughts.
And I mean, like, you know, in early meta, you could just run, like, the Mold Breaker moves, and that's your Shedinja right there. Now it's like, you can't run Mold Breaker moves, you need hazards too, and even then, not, you know, 100% perfect, because if the player is competent enough, you're never killing that Shedinja.
No, they definitely are. They always have entry hazard removal support in the back, you know. Like, definitely, I've definitely seen some good Shedinja teams going around that are putting quite a amount of work in. So,
but that's another argument.
Yeah, you know, we'll discuss that. There's already been enough discussion on Shedinja in the forums, but yeah. So I guess that wraps up our thoughts on Illusion. We're kind of torn, but I guess we can both agree that we would much rather see the vote go on the no ban side, in a sense. But
I don't know about you, but I'm happy to see normal Zorua going out of the meta.
Yes, definitely, for sure. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully we can get more of these Balance Hackmons discussion videos up. Thank you for joining me, Aki0s, and until next time, peace.
No worries, anytime.